Hey, this is Kevin Carr, CEO of Pro to CEO, where career transition and business development is our mission. Literally, I've spent my years and years in my professional career transitioning people and transforming organizations to be at their very best. So I'm coming to you as someone who really sincerely talks from a place of how do you make the most out of where you are to get to the next level in your career. Today, my video specifically is about how to choose a career that's right for you, or how to change careers into a career path that's right for you. It's really for those career aspirational people or career changers. So people want to come up the corporate ladder. So my corporate climbers, people who are interested in working for an organization or entity and they want to move up. But at the same time, if you're really new, you're trying to figure out a career, this is for you. If you're in a career and you're seasoned but you want to change career, this video is for you. I'm coming to you from a place of person who actually was able to find his passion in his career because he decided to go for it in a space that I actually didn't have as much experience as I thought I should, but I went for it anyway and ended up being a very, very successful career path that I was able to choose. And I'm so glad I did it. So I'm coming from you from a place on a person who was able to choose a career that was right for me and I was able to flourish. So the first thing I want you to know is that when I chose my career, it was based on my interests. So what are your interests? What is something that you like to do? What is something, that you have an interest in? And for me, I enjoyed working with people. It wasn't a hobby, it was something I truly enjoyed doing. Some of you might like working outdoors. You don't want to be stuck behind a desk. You don't want to do 9 to 5. You don't want to be tied to a computer. You don't want to be tied to a phone. Some of you like working with animals. Some of you might like working with machines and you don't want anybody around you. You like working by yourself, etc. If you are in that space, then most importantly, you want to figure out what interests you to a point that you gotta do it. You really love doing it. It's so much so that part of you that you wouldn't mind doing it for free. I know you don't want to work for free, but you have a passion for it that is great enough that you find a way to do it. You volunteer to do it because you can't do it full time, but you enjoy it enough to go ahead and do it. So find what that is and follow that interest. I was interested in working in the athlete population because my brother had some experience at a pretty high level in college athletics, but he didn't do well at it. And he ended up back home. And I was like, wow, he worked so hard to get there. And when he got there, he couldn't finish it. And he'll tell you himself that it was extremely hard to find identity outside of sport. And when he was done with it, he struggled with it. I found that very interesting. And for me, I was someone who worked really hard all the way up till I was a young man to go to college. I had multiple jobs in farming. I was a janitor. I was a bag boy. I worked as a costume character at Disney. Man, I did a bunch before I went to college. So I knew sort of what a few of my interests were. I enjoyed working with people. I just couldn't pinpoint it at the time. And then when my brother's misfortune actually spoke to me in a way that I was so passionate, I said, how can I help guys like my brother be successful so they don't end up sort of like how he did? I wanted to sort of correct that in the industry. That became an interest of mine. I first worked with minority students and then found that specifically athletes like my brother were an area of passion. I knew I could possibly do something there and went for it in an interview. I didn't know I was kind of interviewing for, and ended up getting a position. So I found my interest in a lot of different ways, stuck with it, and then it found me. So the next thing is, what are your skills? Like I said, right now, my hard skills are I'm pretty creative. I like organization. I like programs. I like building things where there's sort of need for improvement and enhancing it, taking small to large projects, doing strategy around it. That's another hard skill for me. And then being able to sort of plan and really build it out. That was something that I felt was really good for me. What is your hard skill? You've acquired it through either studying, you've acquired it through going to school, you've acquired it through maybe getting computer programming, etc. Whatever it is, I need you to think about that. And then what are your soft skills? people skills, things that you sort of possess when you're sort of, you're good at managing time, you're good at working with people, etc. What is it that you are good at? You're good at building teams and building connectivity within people, but what are your skills that you bring that that you are very proficient in, that allow you to sort of have that tangible asset that people say, tell me what you do, and you know how to identify that. And that's important, because when you're looking for your job and you're trying to go to that next space, you're going to want to be able to tell that person, these are my skills, hard skills, these are my soft skills, and these are the things that I bring. It's really understanding, when you choose a career, what skills do you bring to the table that can help you succeed in the future? Think about that hard and soft skills, and then you'll be a little bit more proficient and ready to go. What are my talents? What are my strengths? For a lot of people, you want to know that you can be extremely skilled, talented in this area. You're really, really skilled, and you have a level of excellence that's a cut above other people. When people say, what is the thing that you're known for? What's your niche? What's your superpower in a sense? What do you bring that a lot of people can't bring? For me, it was being able to be a really good thinker and a strategist, being able to bring creative energy, creative thought, being able to take something from scratch when there was nothing there, no plans, no blueprints, no schematics, and building something up to where it was not only good, but it became a winner. I remember being at one of the places I worked with, two of them actually, three of them now. Everywhere I went, almost every job was brand new. I can recount working for Florida State, working for Inroads, working for Michigan, working for NBA. They were all jobs that really had not been there before. These were brand new. And I was required to come in and really take that position from being a nebulous position to being a defined one. And that was a skill of mine. I'm a builder. So one of the things you've got to figure out is, what do you do? Knowing this really makes you quite valuable, and you know that you can ask other people, what do you think my strength is? What do you think my ability to be talented in? If you don't know, write them down, narrow it down, and then these are potential talking points that when you go into choosing the right career, you know what it is, and then finding the right profession to do that. What's my personality is next. Like, what is your personality when it comes to work? Are you the leadership type? Are you a leader? Just naturally, people gravitate to you. You take a hold of something, you run with it. Or are you more a follower? You don't mind following somebody. You take your assignment, go back and do it, and then you bring it back, and you're a finisher in that way. Like, you finish out the project based on what someone gives you. Do you like working alone? Do you like working in a group? Do you like or prefer to cooperate and negotiate with people? Do you have a skill set for bartering? Do you like to compete in a sense, in an environment, a sales environment? What's your type? You like someone giving you a goal to set sales wise, and you going after it, not being sort of just an everyday give you what they think you should earn, and that's all you're going to earn. Some people like the sales environment. Give me a low threshold, but if I hit this, I get more and more and more based on incentives. So to me, are you someone who knows what you want in terms of your past personality? And if you know what you want, find that type of job that offers that. But understanding who you are and what your personality allows you to really command a better sense of the right type of career that you want. So I want you to keep that in mind. This is really, really important. I know that I wanted creativity and I wanted flexibility to take a project that I thought up and be able to build it out and then present it and see if it was okay, and then go to step 2, step 3, step 4 to fruition. And that was something I enjoyed doing. To me, there aren't many jobs like that. I understood that, but that's what I was good at, taking a blank slate and building on that, or something that had just got going, and then being able to build on that to make it even better. So to me, I think it's all about your personality and what you think works for you. The next thing is, what are your values? This is important because you can go to work for someone who doesn't value the same things that you do, and then it can be a very, very hard place to be in. So I want you to think through and value, do you value security in a job? You don't want to be worried about whether you're going to lose your job because you didn't meet some type of threshold financially. Maybe you like financial security. You want to know that this job is solid and it's not going anywhere. It doesn't depend on sales. It doesn't depend on whether the market totally is, knocking it out of the park, and the market has to be good in order for you to keep a job. Those types of things. Do you like jobs and places that value diversity? You like places that value service to the community. You value places that have work-life balance and they value their workers and they recognize them and they do worker appreciation. What is it that you value? Making sure that, if they say it's 9 to 5, they're not calling you over the weekend. You've got to know what you value as a professional. So when you go looking for the next job or for that first job, you have a very good sense that an environment is going to be a good environment for you, and you don't have to worry about whether or not it touches on the same or thinks the same or has a sense of belief system the same as yours. So I want you to keep that in mind, that it's really critical for you to figure out what that workplace values. If it's a workplace that's volatile and they don't value respect and integrity, then that's something to be concerned about. If you think you can take it, you go in there and know that that's part of the environment, that just, it comes with the job. But just understand that certain environments may have high value and threshold for workplace and for the workplace and for the workers, and they'll vouch and fight for the workers, and they have a high threshold for professionalism and fairness and equality. If you believe in all those things, find an environment that is like that for you, so you're not struggling whether or not they value you and that you can work there. There's nothing worse than picking a place, and then when you get there, after a while, you say, man, I did not see this coming. And sometimes it can be like that, but in other times, you want to make sure that you ask the questions as you're going into the job. How do you value your workers? What do you do for your workers? When a worker has a problem, what do you do to make sure that there's a high level of integrity and you value when people have problems? What do you do for them? That's critical, that's important, and you want to check that out and make sure you know about that. So you have the right balance you're looking for. So when you get into that job and those things happen, you know exactly which lane to go to, a person to ask, or you know how to deal with that because it's written somewhere, or it's a policy in the workplace, or if it's not, you know how to take it to the right person and get it addressed. Next thing is education and training. What do you need? For the jobs that I've had, you'd have to have a bachelor's degree, even a master's degree. Not a PhD, but I am an adjunct professor, but you did have to at least have a master's in the area field. Certain careers require education, and that requires financial investment. Are you prepared to invest in yourself for your career? Are you able to take out a loan when you go to school if you need that loan? If you have it set aside for you, great. But for example, you might need certain levels of education and years of training to be a certain thing. For example, someone who is an engineer, or someone who is a scientist, or someone who is who works for aerospace. Those people have years and years of training. You just can't walk in there and start doing it. So that's something that you need to be aware of. Doctors, geez, they have years and years and years of training in school and a lot of cost. Or you have to know what you're up against when you decide to choose a career. And don't forget that it may require a financial investment. You might have to get a license. You might have to get certified. You might have to get recertified. You might have to, what they call for lawyers, pass the bar in not one state, but multiple states if you're going to practice. People who are CPAs have to have licenses. People who are financial advisors have to have series of tests that they have to pass. And these tests often cost money to stay certified. So it's real important. Once you get certified, even paying money to stay licensed or to stay certified or to stay within compliance of that industry to make sure you're keeping up to standards so there's no malpractice or bad business practices. Certain professions require you to retest and to retrain and recertify or get your license every so often. Know that that is part of the territory. So when you choose a career that's right for you, keep in mind it may ask you things educationally and to make a financial investment in that education or training or certificate in order to be in that industry. Remember, your development and your ability to be a high performer comes with a cost. Everything has a price. And to some degree, that may not always be cost, but it will cost you time to take a test. It will cost you time or resources to set aside. And you've got to make that, or else you may not be able to stay in that profession very long. The next thing is, are there jobs available in this career? Let me tell you, I chose a very limited access profession. I could not believe how tough it was to advance in the area of athlete development, athletic academic advising, sports and entertainment in general. When I picked this lane, I had no idea how slim pickings the jobs were, meaning very few. Once you got to the top, it became an upside down. At first, at the bottom, it was like this, a lot of jobs down here. And then as you got to the top, slimmer and slimmer jobs, if you're looking at it like a pyramid. And for me, I really didn't realize how tough that was going to be. So I had to be real strategic and know that there are a lot of times when people are getting real coveted professions that are very hard to get into, like sports, or very hard to get into, like entertainment. Those may require you to have a backup plan, or at least a secondary plan. And for me, I was able to at least get in, and I figured out how to stay in and how to advance. So let me tell you that not every profession will be this difficult as I chose, but at the same time, there are always times where there's limited access and limited opportunity, and you have to be at your very best. So it's good when you're trying to find careers that are very limited access, to know people and have relationships. And I'll talk about that at another time, but know that in fields where if the jobs are limited, you gotta know that and know what you're up against and realize that, hey, if I don't want to have to deal with that, I may want to choose a profession that has lots of jobs, like healthcare or public service jobs, the correction system, education. There's always a need in some way or form or fashion for things that are infrastructure type jobs, things that require people to be available to service other people, hospitality industry and somewhat service industry. There are lots of jobs here and there, and they may not be as hard as something in sports and entertainment. So just keep that in mind. The next is how much money, yes, money, getting down to dollars and cents, do you want to make? I want you to think about that, because different careers have different money or monetary thresholds that you can reach. If you're in mostly public sector or city or government jobs, there are certain grades in which you can make this level if you reach this grade, and this level, and it tops out that if you reach that grade, and tops out there if you reach that grade. In other professions, there could be the sky's the limit, depending on if you're an entrepreneur and if you tap into an industry and people like it and it's well received in the marketplace. You could make as much money as you could possibly even imagine, but that's extremely hard to do, and it's very, very difficult. So even though the salary and what you may make or how much you can make is not the ultimate things, knowing that your pay has a lot to do with the quality of life. And if you're a person that's big on quality of life, you gotta have this and that and the third, then you may want to find a career path that pays extremely well, that allows you the flexibility. Some people have been able to, on jobs like even being a custodian or being a teacher, they've been able to save lots of money and because they don't know how to live on a little. So it really depends on how you look at life, the quality of life, and even to some degree where you live. I lived in New York City, and then I lived outside the city, and both were expensive, much more expensive than living in Florida. Living in Michigan, again, was more expensive than living in South Carolina. So think about where you live too as a cost factor, and consider your earning potential as you narrow down your career choices. Potentially, you could choose a career and it would not work out financially for you if it had a high threshold for the quality of living that you want to have. Now, where do you want to live is the next choice. Man, do you want to live in a hot climate, a cold climate? You want to live in an urban environment? You want to live in a quiet environment? You want to live on a campus? You want to live off campus? You want to live in a rural sort of semi-sub community? Depends. I lived, when I was in New York, in an apartment in the mouth of a city, 51st and 7th Avenue. I was literally in the mouth of New York, Times Square. For a while, it was cool. And then after a while, I said, I don't think this is the right fit. So where you want to live and how you want to live, your commute, all these things, really factor in. So think about that as you're looking at what you want to do and how much it may cost you where you want to live. And that has, again, going back to quality of life and can you afford it. If you get a job in a great market like San Francisco, you got to make sure that the salary matches. It's one of the most expensive places to live in all of America. Same with New York. And I had to take that, a job that pays, 6 figures in South Carolina may not go as far as 6 figures in New York or in San Francisco. So keep that in mind. Plan carefully, ensure that you can work and live the type of life you want. So factor in that when you're deciding where you want to live and can you afford it. The last thing is, why do you want to pursue this career? The why. I want to get to your why. Why do you want to do this? A lot of people are, why I want to do this is because I want to be the very best at it. I want to solve a problem that's been around for a long time, and that's a passion for you. Ask yourself why you want to pursue this in a certain area and evaluate that, whether it's right for you. Don't let other people kind of sway you. Know your why. Know why you did it. I did it because I wanted to solve the problem that was happening to my brother and other guys and ladies like him who were in sports. I wanted them to have an identity beyond sport and be able to help them transition into whatever's next. So I found that really a passion point for me. I knew my why. Ultimately, you got to decide your why and know what's important for you. But I do want to encourage you, because that'll fuel you when the day is long and the day is hard, when you've got to work late or you've got to put in the extra hours. Knowing your why you're passionate about it, is going to be everything that you need in order to keep going some days. To me, I love learning. I love knowing new things in this profession. Every athlete I dealt with was a little different. International athletes, female athletes, seniors versus juniors, pros versus amateur. All of that was critical and key. And to me, I understood how to do that, and that fueled me. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to find my why. And I was able to find my why, and as a result of that, I was able to help a lot of people. So know your why. That is it. How to choose a career that's right for you, or how to change a career to a career that's right for you, is this video today. So if this is speaking to you, watch it again, take some notes. I gave about 10 different points. I think it'll be able to help you. So hopefully this is helpful, and hopefully you found it beneficial. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I want to thank you for being part of wanting to learn more about how to choose the right career for you. I've been very fortunate, like I said, and I want to continue to help others be fortunate in pursuing their career aspirations and dreams. Take care, be well, until next time. This is Kevin Carr.